Welcome in, everybody. How is everybody doing? We are back on the Andre Duke Show. Just figured we'd pop back in. Kind of took a little bit of a hiatus trying to get the routine down for the off season. We've been a little inconsistent here. Apologize, but try to keep it going Monday through Friday, and also maybe some content on Saturdays as well. All kinds of college hoops going on. Florida absolutely taking Georgia to the woodshed right now. Ole Miss, Alabama, locked up in a tight one as well. Also taking calls on any topics that you want to talk about today. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. So phone line is open if you want to hop in and call in. So we'll get it started today. A lot of speculation, a lot of stuff coming out and about Alabama. And also I think Texas goes on this list as well. Some people don't want to address the Texas thing, but I also think Texas kind of falls into this category. We're looking at Alabama's schedule this year. Let me get that pulled up. As I look at Alabama's schedule, one of the things that sticks out right away, they got to go on the road at Kentucky. I would say that'll probably be a 12:45 start. And then they have the, as I'm looking at it, we can just go down the schedule for Alabama. Not that I'm trying to be the guy that does all the schedule predictions, but if you guys want to call, you can call in if you disagree. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. So there is that. Let me put the banner up. Phone line is open. Just numbers on the ticker below, and there's that. But they start with East Carolina. I don't know what East Carolina is going to be completely honest. The American, kind of a tough crowd over there in the American right now. I know Memphis is looking to leave. I know that is something of note, and I think that should be out there. Memphis looking to leave. I don't know. I think the American's probably low-key going to fall apart to a certain extent. I don't know what they're going to do. But also this comes on the heels of my opinion on the ACC as well. But give me one sec. All right, sorry about that, but you got Alabama's schedule. Let me get back to that. As I'm looking at it real quick, they got East Carolina, then they have to go on the road at Kentucky. Florida State, they have at home, which I think that's a major plus. They have South Carolina at home, and then they got to go on the road to Starkville. October 10th, I think that is a date to be circled. I think Alabama should be undefeated going into the Georgia game, and then this is kind of when the gauntlet starts. They got Georgia on the 10th, then they have to go to Tennessee, Then they have A&M coming to town, and then they have to go on the road to Baton Rouge, and then they have Chattanooga, and then they end it with Auburn. I don't know what Auburn's going to look like. It's going to be kind of fascinating, to say the least. I think the Auburn thing it kind of is what it is, but for all intents and purposes, I think Alabama should be undefeated going into that stretch. I think it's going to be one of those gut check time things for DeBoer because, as this article points out, they've got the Georgia game. I mean, obviously, we've seen how that went at the SEC championship. And then I don't think A&M is going to be an easy task. And then they have to go on the road to Tennessee. So that's something of note. So there's kind of that. That's my synopsis of it. But Rece Davis had some interesting comments. He said, "I'm willing to do it already. I'd like to see more games. Always kind of disappointing there aren't more great games. The week 0 slate. He wants to move the schedule up, which is something we've said on this program before. I think that's kind of something to be said. I think they got to move the schedule up 3 weeks. I think the beginning of August, the first weekend of August, you don't have to mess with week 0 as much as you want to. But I think if you move the schedule up 3 weeks and have the playoffs end, if you end the college football season on January 1, you can leave the transfer portal open the 14 days, and I think that solves a lot of the problem. But another article that CBS Sports put out with the way too early top 25, I think is interesting. Ohio State being number 1, their most pivotal game they've got circled on the schedule for them is for Ohio State is Indiana. They got Ohio State 1, Texas 2. Ohio State's got to travel down to Austin this year. I think that's going to be an interesting game. And barring, I think they get Ole Miss gets the decision for Trinidad Chambliss tomorrow. Georgia's big thing is that they've got their most pivotal game is going to be at Ole Miss. I'm sure Kirby and the Dogs got something to say about that. I think that's going to be interesting. And this is CBS Sports's it's CBS Sports's list. So there's kind of that. Next one, number 4, Oregon, most pivotal game, USC. I haven't really looked at Oregon's schedule yet. And then they got Notre Dame at 5, which I think Notre Dame's going to be really good this year. I know some people want to argue all the stuff with Notre Dame, but I think the Irish got something to say this year. I think it'll be interesting, to say the least. Also, if you're new to the program, do us the biggest favor, hit that like and subscribe button and help us grow this thing. Don't know how long we're going to go tonight, depending on call volume is how this is going to be dependent. Richie will be back with us Thursday. So there's kind of that. But I think Notre Dame's going to have a lot to say this year. They were left out of the playoffs. It is what it is. And in my opinion, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you got to move on. That's what it is. Spring ball is going to be starting soon. So there's kind of that. Number 6 on the list is going to be Texas A&M. And like I said, Texas A&M, their most pivotal game is, can they beat Texas? Mike Elko's gotten really close to beating Texas. They kind of fell apart last year, and I think that A&M peaked early in the season, kind of like an Oregon did last year, and then just down the stretch, they kind of collapsed. Some people would say that was unfair to Texas A&M, but I don't necessarily think. I think that's a realistic thing that happened. They just kind of crapoladed the bed at the end of the year. They lost to Texas, don't go to the SEC championship game, and then they go to then they have Miami come in, and Miami being the national runner-up, Carson Beck and them, they sneak away with a win on a windy day down there at College Station. So there's kind of that. And then also what we got going on right now is tons of college hoops. They're showing the Syracuse crowd, and it's looking rough up there. A lot of empty seats for the Orangemen. But moving on the list, Texas Tech, their most pivotal game, going to be Arizona State. I think that Texas Tech is going to be a viable option in the Big 12 as long as they can keep spending the way they have. They put together a hell of a roster. Arizona State loses Sam to LSU. Also, programming update, Alabama starting to put some distance between them and Ole Miss. Just not a good year for the Rebels this year on the hardwood. And then they have Indiana, number 8. They're going to be breaking in Josh Hoover as the new starting quarterback, the kid from TCU. So Indiana's most pivotal game is October 24th at Michigan. I think that's going to be a very fascinating endeavor. What Indiana looks like post this year from year-to-year progression. Are they going to be better than what they were last year? I mean, it's kind of hard to top 16-0, but they got to go on the road to Michigan. Although I'm shocked for the person that wrote this article that Ohio State was not the most pivotal game on their schedule. I think Indiana realistically could drop 2, 1 to Ohio State, 1 to Michigan, probably not playing for the Big Ten title. But I think that, a 10-2 Big Ten teams is a virtual lock, I think, getting in the playoffs. They got Michigan number 9. Bryce Underwood decides to stay. The Kyle Whittingham experience is going to be underway in Ann Arbor. I'll be interested to see how this whole thing shakes out up there, what they look like. Kyle Whittingham's teams, basically good defense, and they play tough football. And a lot of people before the years when they were in the Pac, I think he won the conference back-to-back years in the old Pac-12 when everybody picked USC to run away with it, and Whittingham threw down. So I think it's going to be fascinating. A lot of stuff surrounding the Michigan program. Obviously, their most consequential game of the year is going to be the final game of the year, Ohio State. Haven't really looked at their schedule, but I think there might be some bumps and bruises along the way up there in Ann Arbor, but they had to completely flip the program and get it restarted. So there's kind of that. Oklahoma comes in at number 10. The Sooners, which I find fascinating on this, they have Michigan circled for them as the most pivotal game. I find that really interesting, to say the least. Oklahoma at 10. I think Brett Venables staved off execution from last year. I find it very interesting. He's got Mateer coming back, so I think Mateer, you have all the quarterback lists that are going to be start flying, all the speculation. I think we got to see who gets through spring ball healthy, and I think it's going to be tough to see who gets through fall camp healthy. Probably, I don't know, we'll probably have the preview show for every conference, and then we'll probably do a little group of 5 thing in August. Maybe we'll do that in July. Haven't really made up my mind yet. But also, college baseball opens Friday. going to be doing some of that. But you never know. Maybe we'll start doing some just standalone Saturday night call-in shows as well. If you guys are up for that, just thinking out loud. USC comes in at number 11. Gary Patterson taking over the defense for Lincoln Riley. I think that's going to be interesting on how on what USC is this year. I think that the USC fan base is starving to make the college football playoff. They're one of the notable programs that has not made the college football playoff, along with Florida. Obviously, John Summerall taking over the reins there for Billy Napier. Billy Napier falls into JMU, which I think we'll see Billy Napier back at the helm of an SEC program before you know it. So there's kind of my standalone feelings on that, but we'll see. I know the Florida people will hate it, and they hate Billy, but I don't think Billy got enough credit for the way he ended 2 seasons ago, and then he gets fired after a win. So I think that they made up their program, and then Florida turned into a laughing stock, and John Summerall's got to build them back. But anyway, USC number 11. They got to go on the road to Happy Valley. Although I did ruffle up some Penn State people, I thought that was very good of me. But they posted a loss because of their stadium renovation. But I did think it was funny to rile up the Penn State folks. It's always fun. As I'm looking at it here, BYU comes in at 12. They made it to the Big 12 championship game last year. I'll have to see what BYU can build upon. I think BYU is going to be fascinating. They're one of the teams to watch. Can they get over the hump in beating Texas Tech? I had to think there for a second, but they got Utah. That's a big game for them. We'll see what BYU can come up with and see what they get going this year. Miami comes in at 13, which I think this is really low for Miami. I would put Miami higher on this way too early preseason ranking. Although Miami did lose a lot, but I think Mario's a good enough recruiter to where I think Miami, they're, in my opinion, the favorite to win the ACC this year. They got to go on the road at Clemson this year, October 3rd. I don't know what Clemson's going to be necessarily. I think Clemson's one of the more fascinating programs to see how Dabo can bounce back. I know some people will probably disagree with that. They think pull the plug on Dabo, but I think there's a lot of mixed feelings. But then again, I also say if Clemson is not where they need to be, some people say he's got a lifetime contract, but I don't know. And then they have LSU at 14. They got Ole Miss as their pivotal game. It's year one goals for Lane Kiffin. They ran Brian Kelly off after a couple of 9-3s. LSU has not made the expanded playoff yet. I think LSU is going to be one of the most talked about programs that could go 9-3 this year. I think it's safe to say it's as it goes on for the LSU write-up. LSU closes November with Alabama, Texas, Tennessee in consecutive weeks, with leaving little margin for error, as the Tigers can't afford this early loss. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Then Alabama at 15. The DeBoer stuff going to be interesting. LSU November 7th, it's their big one. And then Louisville comes in at 16. Georgia Tech is their most pivotal game. I think Louisville under Jeff Brom is going to be respectable. Louisville just can't afford to take the bad loss like they kind of have in years past. Jeff Brom has, I would say, galvanized that program, and I think a playoff victory or a playoff berth for Louisville would send that program into the eons. And then another program that's on this list that I think is way too low, the Missouri Tigers. They pick up Austin Simmons. I think Missouri's going to be one of the more overlooked teams in the SEC. Their most pivotal game is November 10th against Texas A&M, and I think that Missouri's going to be a hard out this year, especially with Simmons. I think Drinkowitz is better than what people think, even though there's a lot of people that throw a lot of dirt on Eli, but I think Eli Drinkowitz could set himself apart if he could get Missouri into the playoff. As of right now, no playoff format changes. I would say we probably won't see that. I would say that committee will reconvene. There's all kinds of spring meetings that go on and a lot of moving parts there. So I think it'll be interesting. They got Utah at 18. I believe the coach there, Scully. It's going to be very, very fascinating, in my opinion, to see what he does year one at Utah. But if you're Utah, you lose Kyle Whittingham. He said he was retiring and then unretires like a couple minutes later to take the Michigan job. I don't blame Whittingham for that. So Utah, can Scully elevate the program farther than what Whittingham did? I think you're chasing BYU, and I think you're chasing Texas Tech. I think it's really in the Big 12, it's a 3-team race at the moment. And then another Big 10 team on the list, Washington comes in. They had a massive fiasco in the offseason with their quarterback, the Williams kid. I think I would not be shocked if Jed Fish ends up with an 8-4, 9-3 year and jettisons out of Washington. I think that's kind of what it's set up on. I wouldn't be shocked if Jed Fish, if there's an SEC opening, if Jed Fish decides to hop on a jet plane and dip on out of Washington. I think that the people of Washington would probably argue with me, but it would be 2 coaches in a row that leave for greener pastures, but I think one has buyer's remorse right now. That's just my opinion. So coming in at number 20 is Ole Miss. And I'm really shocked that they have Florida on their most pivotal game. I would have put LSU because, I mean, it's a no-brainer, to be honest. The LSU thing is just out of this world, to be completely honest. I think that Ole Miss going on the road, it's going to be a very hostile environment. Pete Golding, obviously taking over as head coach after the departure of Lane Kiffin. I want to see if Pete Golding can keep the program elevated to where it's at. He has no reason not to. I believe Walker Jones and the Grove Collective are going to give as much financial backing as they can to the program. So, and also Pete Golding had the tampering allegations. I think I don't think we've heard the end of that, to be completely honest. I think SEC Media Days on how they slot the teams and the coaches, I think that's going to be one of the more fascinating watches this summer for SEC Media Day. So kind of looking forward to that one. Then Houston comes in. Willie Fritz, he won 10 games last year. He was my pick to win the Big 12. I think Willie Fritz is the dark horse to win the Big 12. In my opinion, they just got to be. They got you're chasing Texas Tech with the unbelievable bankroll. So there's kind of that. Penn State comes in at number 22. I'm actually kind of shocked by this, that they would have Penn State up there in the top 25, the way too early top 25, especially Matt Campbell's first year. Their big game, obviously, is USC when they come to town. I think Matt Campbell quietly had a solid career at Iowa State, and he's going to get a ton of financial backing. He's going to get pretty much everything he needs to be successful at Penn State, and we'll see how it goes. They wanted to move on from James Franklin. James was there a long time. I think that there is some things that I find interesting by them moving on from Franklin. Hopefully you upgraded. Sometimes it works out, look at Georgia and, moving on from Brick to Kirby. So there's kind of that. And then SMU comes in at 23. Mustangs got a lot of money. Hopefully they invested in the roster, and SMU can have a bounce back, because outside of Miami, I think that the number 2 spot in the ACC is up for grabs just with everybody else. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say you got to pencil in Florida State. Florida State's got to win some games before I'll even put that in the portfolio, to be honest. If I was anything, I would be short in Florida State. They put Norvell. I think it's kind of Norvell's year. This is a big year for Mike Norvell in Florida State, to be 100% honest. But SMU could take over the number 2 slot. Virginia Tech comes in with James Franklin, high expectations. I don't think that's unrealistic for James Franklin, to be honest. I think that when it comes down to it, it's going to be very interesting, to say the least. I think that Virginia Tech wants to get back there, and they want to be a winner. And then coming in at number 25, South Carolina. I don't know. I think it's one of the more fascinating things, to be honest. I think this might be the swan song for Beamer. If it goes like it did last year, I think we could be looking at change at South Carolina, and that might be a spot for Jed Fish. Who knows? Also, Matt Zins puts it out there that the Kansas City Chiefs are looking at DeMarco Murray for running backs coach. That could be interesting. That could be kind of a blow to Oklahoma off the rip. So that's the way too early top 25. Kind of shocked that they got those folks in there where they've got them slotted. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on in college football. The Montana linebacker granted a 9th year of eligibility, which, oh boy, whatever. So you got that, and then some other things that I've seen out there, some coaches with other expectations. CFP Alerts puts out there, Matt Campbell's expectation, make the playoffs. I think that's a pipe dream. They got Pat Fitzgerald at Michigan State. Make a bowl game. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And it's just got Bob Chesney at UCLA to bring program stability after the Deshaun Foster tenure. I think that the interim staff there at UCLA kind of wrote the ship. Bob Chesney's going to have Nico. If Nico balls out, I would say Nico goes to the NFL. And then some other notable coaches on this list. James Franklin to win 8+ games. Don't necessarily hate that. And then Pete Golding, win 9 games / or beat LSU. Yeah, that's one. And then Alex Golesh is on this list. I'll be interested to see how long it takes the Auburn faithful to do the heel turn, because it's all rainbows, butterflies, and My Little Ponies down there on the plains right now. Hopefully they give Golesh some time to rebuild and build back after the freeze era that didn't work out. And then they got Colin Klein finishing the top half of the Big 12 at Kansas State, which I think Colin Klein, I think that's a hell of a fit for Kansas State. You know, he played there. See what him and Avery Johnson can do. And then they got Cal's coach, Tosh, make a bowl game. I don't think that's an unrealistic expectation. Now, Lane Kiffin to make the playoff, I think a lot of LSU fans are thinking that Kiffin should make the playoffs year one. And I guess my thing is what if he don't? Are we going to see an outrageous heel turn? Because I know a lot of LSU media had to do a lot of backtracking on Lane Kiffin after they hired him when he was at Ole Miss. So there's kind of that. Then also Oklahoma State coach Eric Morris is here, win 7 games. I think that it's going to be interesting, to say the least. Pritchard at Stanford, make a bowl game. We'll see if Andrew Luck knows what he's doing. I didn't think Frank Reich was the long-term solution. I think he did it to help Andrew out, to bring some stability after Troy Taylor let go in the spring for that internal investigation that happened. I think we'll ever get the whole truth of what exactly happened? I don't think so. I think they just wanted to fire him. That's honestly what I think it was. And the Stanford folks have turned it over to Andrew Luck, and he's going to be in charge of that program. Also, right now, Virginia Tech up by 9 or up by 11 on Clemson right now. Clemson at home. Ooh, boy, that could get interesting. For the most part, Alabama's pulled away from Ole Miss. They're about to go up 10 on them with 5 minutes left at the Pavilion. So there's kind of that if anybody's following along with the college hoops. And then also other coaches on this list. Jimmy Rogers, his expectation at Iowa State is to win a bowl game. We'll see. Morgan Scully, high expectation. Also at Utah, win 9+ games. Ryan Silverfield, make a bowl game. Will Stein at Kentucky, win 7 games. Yeah, I think Arkansas moving on from Sam Pittman the way they did it, kind of interesting. Sam Pittman got blown out by Notre Dame. He was removed after that, and then Bobby Petrino subsequently drops one to Memphis. I don't know what it was. It started well at Arkansas with Sam Pittman, and then he lost his coordinators, and it kind of got awry for him. So there's kind of that. But I think Ryan Silverfield has a big task. Don't know how patient the Razorback fans will be with Silverfield, to be completely honest. But I mean, the Memphis faithful, from what I got, they were kind of 1 foot out the door on Silverfield. But we'll have to see what Will Stein can do at Kentucky, taking over for Stoops. Mark which I would argue Kentucky is a hell of a job to have as long as you win 6 games a year, because I don't think they're going to rock the boat and get rid of you. The other two on this list, Kyle Whittingham, his expectation that they put attached to him was make the playoffs and or beat Ohio State. If he does one of those, I think the Michigan people will be happy, but I think they'll get a little restless. You know, the 10% lunatic fringe of every fan base is, you know, after a punt, they want to fire the coach. So there's kind of that. And then also John Summerall win 8+ games. I think that Florida is going to be a work in progress. I think John Summerall, out of his last 2 stops in 4 years, he's played for the conference championship every year. I think that that's going to be very interesting, to say the least, on the Summerall front. I think John's got his work cut out for him. I think this is going to be the biggest. I think Florida is one of the bigger rebuilding jobs in the SEC. Obviously, outside of, like, you know, Kentucky, Arkansas, but I mean, anything's possible. Vanderbilt won 10 games and didn't get a sniff at the college football playoffs. So I think that, you know, as long as Summerall comes in there and rights the ship, and I'm not going to necessarily say clean up a ton of things, but I think, you know, if there's anybody that can turn it around, I'm in on Summerall as a SEC head coach. But Florida is basically a meat grinder too, as well, with the fan base, media coverage. It doesn't help that, you know, you got one of the bigger reporters that I believe is in Gainesville a ton, which is Andy Staples. So Florida didn't get their man in Kiffin. That was my big thing last year that I wanted to ask the Florida faithful was, what if you don't get Kiffin? So there's kind of that. You got to see where that shakes out. Obviously, DJ Lagway exits the program. It's going to be very, very fascinating, to say the least, on what Summerall is going to do at quarterback. But I think if anybody can get it figured out, it's going to be John. So we'll see where this whole thing shakes out. You know, it's going to be a long 8 months until the season rolls around. You know, and got spring ball, got to see who's healthy in between that. So that's kind of my sentiment going forward as I'm scrolling some stuff. Indiana, also the Hoosiers. Indiana University announcing that plans to put a permanent bronze statue of Hall of Fame coach Bob Knight. The statue will be displayed alongside the 1976 statues in the south lobby of Assembly Hall. So Bob Knight getting added to the history forever of Indiana basketball, which I don't disagree with that. Kind of, in my opinion, they should have hung on to Bob Knight. They probably would have another national championship if they would have done that. But who am I? DraftKings put this interesting thing out, and I'm just curious on what college football fans would think about this. Instead of having the international games, what if they played those games in the big college stadiums? Like they would play at LSU Tiger Stadium, play an NFL game at Bryant-Denny, play one at Outson, play one at Oklahoma, play one at Auburn at Jordan-Hare, or play one at Clemson. Do you think? I think that would get better TV ratings. Well, the NFL is going to smash TV ratings, but I think you would get better fan turnout if you played a Saints game, because you could do this. You could play a Saints game at Tiger Stadium, like Saints Falcons. I think that would draw. I don't know what you would put in Alabama. I don't know I don't know about the other venues, but I think it would work at LSU and play a Panthers game at Clemson. I think you could sell that. Those are about the only two that I would look at because they're playing 3 games in London, 1 game in Paris, 1 game in Munich, one game in Madrid, playing 1 in Mexico City, playing 1 in Melbourne, Australia, and playing 1 in Rio. I think you would have a better fan turnout, in my opinion. I know some people would probably disagree with me on that, but I think you would have better fan turnout on keeping it in the United States, but that's just my opinion. Some people would probably disagree, but I think it would be cool to play instead of I think you would get more Saints fans instead of trying to sell them on a 9 a.m. London game. I think you would get more Saints fans that would be more apt to tune in to a noon/1 o'clock game at Death Valley on a Saturday than what you would get at 9 a.m. But I don't know. I thought that was interesting that that FanDuel put that out there. I think that would be a good idea. Instead of having them, the NFL teams would travel to a different city. Traveling to a city would be easier than traveling across the pond, but what do I know? I think it would be cheaper for the teams and the NFL. And because they were talking about that with the NBA Cup, instead of playing the NBA Cup on these ridiculous floors, why not take the NBA Cup on the road and play some basketball games, like have the Lakers play at Pauley Pavilion? I bet you would pack the house out for that. Lakers, Clippers, Pauley Pavilion. I bet you'd pack the house out on that one. And you would and sell student tickets. Yeah. I think you would make some money there. But we'll see. It looks like Alabama's going to hold on against Ole Miss. Also, another interesting note, Keegan Pope put this out. Only 6 teams have signed both a top 15 transfer portal class and a top 15 recruiting class: Notre Dame, LSU, Texas, Texas A&M, Miami, and Florida. So I think the expectation is there. Also, coming up this week, or I think this weekend. What do we have this weekend? There's a big event this weekend. It's not USC or UFC. Daytona's this weekend. Or no, when is Daytona? Daytona's the 15th. The 500's the 15th. They got the dual thing going on as well, but also just some other things that I was looking at. Also, on the Notre Dame front, Notre Dame's men and women's basketball is going to play in 2026, 2027. They're given special clearance to play to tip in Rome. That's going to be interesting. I guess they're going to be playing in Italy, so. But I guess Pope Leo is a Villanova grad, so I guess, he wants to watch some basketball in person. Why not bring it there? But I did see JD Pickwell from On3 caught a massive amount of flack on Twitter because he posted his early top 10 QB projections. I hope everybody takes this with a grain of salt whenever you're watching this on the rewatch. If you've made it this far in the video, do us the biggest favor, hit that like and subscribe button and help us grow this thing. We're going to be talking ball all off season until the tournament gets here. Like I said, college baseball is going to open. There's going to be there's going to be people or fan bases that turn their attention to baseball because basketball's not going to pan out for them. So, but anyway, JD Pickwell's top 10 quarterback projections. He's got Dante Moore, Julian Sayin, Arch Manning, Braden Salisbury, Josh Hoover, CJ Carr, Darian Mensah, Sam Levet, Gunnar Stockton, Jaden Maeva. Now, if I had to re-rack these, I would put CJ Carr at the top of the list. Just my opinion. I think CJ Carr should be the favorite to win the Heisman. If I had to go with a number 2, I would probably put Darian Mensah number 2. And then I would probably go Josh Hoover 3, Julian Sayin 4, Arch Manning 5, Brendan from Texas Tech 6, Dante Moore 7, Sam Levet 8, Gunnar Stockton 9, and Jaden Maeva 10. Just my opinion. So that's kind of how I would have them ranked, but I don't know. It's way too early. You never know what's going to happen in the college football space. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. Andre the Giant. What's up, Joe? Also, this is very interesting. Colorado had 0 players invited to the NFL Combine. Wow. Sorry I missed most of the show, I guess. Yeah, you'll just have to go back and rewatch. We're getting ready to close down shop here in about the next 5 minutes. Colorado had 10 players from last season, and ooh, wow. No Colorado players invited to the scouting combine. I don't think that's a big deal, to be honest. I think it's all about perception. I think there's a lot of Power 4s that don't get kids invited to the combine. Very interesting, to say the least, that they make it a big deal. How did they do in the portal, Colorado? Well, they didn't. I don't know. I think it's a big time. I think it's a big time crapshoot, to be honest, on what it's going to look like for Colorado. I think you're going to have to wait and see what it looks like on when they lace them up. And then also Alabama fiscal year, they're posting a $32 million profit, and most of it's from football. They made $9 million on basketball, so I guess that's a plus for them. Baseball and girls basketball losing 4.4 and 4.6 million for the university. So there's kind of that. It's going to be interesting to say the least on what they got going. Also, somebody interviewed Gus Malzahn about Arkansas football. When everything comes together at Arkansas, the sky's the limit. They could do the same thing as Indiana. That's what Gus Bus said. So there's kind of that. So not a whole lot going on, but we'll be back tomorrow. Who's your early favorite to win the Big 12? This will be the last thing, and then we'll jump on out of here. But we'll bring the call-in show back for tomorrow as well. My Big 12 favorite, I like Houston. I like the Cougars, man. I like Houston to win the Big 12. I know that's kind of controversial with Texas Tech hanging out there spending all that money, but I kind of like Houston. So, yeah, they won 10 games last year. So we'll see if Willie Fritz bridged the talent gap. We'll see. So, but I guess we'll go ahead and end it here tonight. Alabama going to beat Ole Miss. Yeah, Houston is a super sleeper, so that's kind of what it is. But appreciate everybody watching. If you're new here, do us the biggest favor, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, we'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, call-in show. And appreciate everybody watching, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.